Welcome to the advanced Google Docs and slides tips and tricks kind of thing. This is going to be a bunch of different stuff. So it doesn't have like a coherent, we're going from here to there, like narrative kind of thing to it. But this is a lot of stuff, some of it related to accessibility that I think you're going to find really useful. And I definitely learned some things about slides and docs in researching this. So I hope that this is something that you'll be able to use with students, and that will make all of your experiences a lot easier. Okay, so my first tip is for Google Docs to allow you to more easily navigate long documents. Okay, over here on the top left side, you'll notice that there's a little box with dots in it, and that's the document outline. When you click on it, it pops up with this hot linked list of items in here, and it will allow you to navigate to those things by clicking on them. So Google Docs automatically generates a linked outline for you that you just need to know is there to be able to access. Um, One thing that you can do to make your outline better so they aren't all the same weight is to use these headings. Okay, so if you use a variety of different headings, Google will know to indent. And if you click on them here, these are the default ones that are available, these styles. I don't particularly like Arial as a font. And so for my Google Doc, when I create things, it has what I've put in here for fonts. Okay, so this is something that you absolutely can edit even from document to document and make more your own. So you would just create a text that you like and then highlight it and click update title to match. So that's how you can set the different fonts for your different styles. And so you'll notice that our Diggin with Text syllabus has our title font, and then these things underneath are indented because, excuse me, they have different headings, right? So I go from heading 2 to heading 3 to then just normal text that's bolded, which also shows up. Now, I don't really want it to show up, so you'll notice that I can use this remove from outline X on here and get rid of these things. So it really does just go day 1, day 2, day 3 if I want it to look that way. Okay, this might not make a ton of sense on a document like this that's only, a half dozen or so pages long. But for a longer document like this escape room, it's really nice to be able to go to these different modules instead of having to scroll through a 70-page document, right? I can just look through here and go to the section that I want and be able to access that text. This is another point where using that Control F or Command F function that I mentioned in the basics training can be really helpful. If I want to go to the part that's talking about rank, I can just search for it, and then it allows me to go to each of the different times where that word rank is mentioned. So using Control F is a really great feature to use. Using the outline format that's already built in to Google Docs can be a really great way to navigate documents that are a bit lengthy. Okay, my next tip is how do you deal with the fact that not all of your students are necessarily able to access print on their own, right? Maybe they have an accommodation in their IEP that says that they have a reader. Maybe you have younger students who aren't going to be able to read something as fluently on the first try. And so how do you deal with sharing documents with those students? And I have great news for you. If you're using Google Chrome, and I would imagine the other browsers have these as well, there's an extension that you can add in that will read any website to you. And it is called Read Aloud. It is completely free. It does a pretty good job. It's a robotic voice, so it's not particularly pleasant to listen to, but it reads things clearly, and you can control a lot of the settings. So all I did was search for Read Aloud extension Chrome, and then that took me to the Chrome Web Store and its web page. I can see that it has a ton of users and really good rankings, so this is one that I would probably trust. All I need to do now is click Add to Chrome. It asks me if I really want to. I'm going to say Add Extension. And then it pops up here on my top of my browser bar here. Okay. So now when I go back to the syllabus, If I click on the Read Aloud extension,
Course schedule day 1. What does our virtual classroom look like? During this first day in the course, we will be learning
I'm not actually sure that you can hear the audio on my computer, so I apologize if that was blank, but I promise you a robot was reading to me. Okay, the settings control here, you can adjust the speed and the volume and things like that, and whether you want it to highlight or not. I would recommend to your students that they not mess around with the voice, because even though these sound like like they would be fine people to hear from, a lot of these are in different languages. So if you do have a student who English is not their first language, that might be an option. However, it would be easy to switch into a different language and not know exactly how to switch back without some assistance. So that's something just to keep in mind. This is something that works on any web page, not just in Google Docs. So if, for example, I wanted to learn about galaxies, I could go to the Wikipedia page on galaxies and have it read it to me.
This article is about the astronomical structure.
Just a note while I'm mentioning Wikipedia anyway, if you aren't aware, Simple English Wikipedia is a version of Wikipedia that uses a controlled vocabulary. So they're still dealing with difficult concepts, and there are still vocabulary type words in there, but the rest of the words that aren't directly related to the content are it's a very limited list of words that they can use. So you can see the difference between this article on galaxies. Gravity holds galaxies together against the general expansion of the universe. Still sounds pretty technical, but it is much easier to understand than this article that says things that like galaxies are categorized according to their visual morphology, right? The equivalent sentence on this page is there are various types of galaxies. So I'm not advocating you have your students cite Wikipedia in their papers or things like that, but sometimes when you're wanting to get just a general understanding of something, Wikipedia is not a terrible place to start, and Simple English Wikipedia makes it easier for others to understand. The articles are not going to exactly match up, and just like anything that's community edited, some of them are going to be higher quality than others, but just so you're aware there. Okay, let's say that I want to keep my syllabus and I'm having a hard time now that I have so many tabs open remembering which one my syllabus is, but I know I want to keep it open today. If you're using Google Chrome, you can right click or hold down Control and click if you're on a Mac and say pin, and that will pin that tab right here. So if I want to pin several tabs, I can have them there and I can adjust them around. They take up less space. I only see their icon, but then they'll stay there and they should open back up if I close Chrome and open it again. So that can be handy when you're managing your grading system, your email, your Google Drive. I usually have all of those pinned to my tabs to make it easier to navigate through those. Okay, another fun feature of why you would probably want to be using Chrome. If you want to create a new document, you can type in docs.new just from the URL bar like this, and it'll create a new Google Doc for you. Okay, you can do the same thing with slides and sheets. If I want a new slides document, I type in slides.new, and then it'll create a new one for me. This isn't organized, so you would have to move it into a particular folder wherever you wanted it. But if you're in a rush and you need a document right away, you can easily pull one up if you're using Chrome. Okay, so now that I have my new document up, mostly, it's still loading, to tie in with Read Aloud, that extension that lets text be read, Google Docs also has built-in voice typing. So if you go down to Tools and you select voice typing, click on Here to Speak, it will start dictating whatever you are saying. The one thing is you do have to tell it to use punctuation, otherwise it's just going to be a long sentence. So that's something you might want to train your students to do. However, you can talk for as long as you want, period. This is a good start for a lot of students, and I would suggest that they then go back and proofread. But if you have students who are uncomfortable with typing and can't get their ideas out fast enough, this is an easy option for them to get their ideas onto paper, period. Line break. Oh, I thought line break would work. See, it's not perfect. And if I say the wrong thing, like maybe I was thinking purple, no wait, blue, it will show up like that. And then it will also tell me underlining where it thinks I might want to go back and look at things. So this is absolutely an option if you have students who have issues with typing or writing. I will say it's never going to be perfect. Even if they're proofreading it, they're probably not going to catch some things. The more of an accent that they have, the less likely it's going to capture them correctly. The less they enunciate, the less likely it is to be captured correctly. So I will venture to say that just like we've gotten really good at reading students' handwriting, this is a skill that will be transferable, right? We kind of can get a sense of what they mean, even if they're not exactly saying it right. Just it may be a little whimsical to try to figure it out, but that's definitely an option that's available. Okay. I'm winding down. I've got 2 more things about Google Docs before I switch over to slides and show you some stuff. Okay. One thing I wanted to make you aware of is in Insert, we have special characters. And there are all kinds of things here. It's defaults on mine at least to arrows, but I can also change it to emoji if I want. I'm not a huge fan of behavior charts, but if a student is wanting to keep track of how much work they've done for something for themselves, let's say they have 4 things to do and we'll make those be aliens or something like that. And then when they finish the alien, they get a heart. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay. So we could have a little chart that says task equals alien, finished task equals heart. So today they've got 4 aliens. And if these aliens are too small, you can absolutely make it all bigger. They'll scale just like fonts will. Okay. And so as they finish their tasks, they can just copy and paste this over here to keep track of what they've accomplished and what they still need to get done. So that's kind of a fun thing to do. I've also seen some cute like math equation type things where you use an emoji instead of an operator and they have to figure out what the operator is or what that emoji is doing. So that's something that can be done. And then there's also a lot less fun special characters in there that are still important. So punctuation symbol, I think is what I want. So we've got our math symbols in here as well. So your operator signs, all that more advanced things, that's where you can find them. If you are a person who needs to use equations, you can use the equation toolbar and say new equation. You can have your letters. I believe that this is basically a LaTeX editor. So in the past, I've gone out to like CodeCogs or some other LaTeX editor and brought that in. I hope I'm pronouncing LaTeX right. But you can actually do that just within Google Docs now. And to do that, you go to View and Show Equation Toolbar. Most of us probably aren't going to use that on a regular basis, but it's really nice to know that it's there. And sometimes it does format things a little bit better. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is add-ons. There are a ton of different things that you can add into Google Docs to make your life easier. If you are a math person, there's great things in there for that. If you need to translate things. So if there's something that you want to do and you're frustrated because Google Docs is not doing it for you, double check to see if there's an extension or an add-on that will do that. Nearpod is an add-on that you can get that will make your slides presentations more interactive and things like that. It's not one I've explored a lot yet, but there's a lot of education-specific add-ons that you can get for docs and slides. Okay, done with docs. We're going to transition over to slides. So Google Slides comes with a fine variety of themes. So if I want to change my theme, I can always go to slide and change theme and choose one of theirs. However, there aren't that many. And by the time I have students do presentations and they've picked over the couple dozen that are in here, it gets so boring to look at the same thing day after day. So they have this great feature called Import Theme, where you can choose one of your other presentations and steal the theme from that. That doesn't seem like a great thing until I tell you about a couple of these websites like Slides Carnival and Slides Go, where there are free templates that you can save to your Google Drive. And then when you go to say import slides, you can just import that. I like Slides Go because they have a lot that are specific to education. Like right now, they have 17 science templates, word work activities. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. So to get these into your Google Drive, you're just going to click on whichever one it is. You can look at it more closely so you can see how many different pages there are. There are 63 in this one, and it'll just kind of give you an overview. You can usually either download these as PowerPoints or use them as a Google Slides theme. So if you still don't like the idea of using a web-based presentation format, you absolutely can use these for PowerPoints. When you click this, it asks you, do you want to make a copy? Yes. And then it will save a copy to your Google Drive. The trick is if you have a lot of these, you want to kind of remember what to search for. I've got mine set up making templates, and so it can be a little bit hard to get to. But then when I pull up that the thing that says import slides, I would just search for Slides Go if I knew it was a Slides Go one, and then I could pull that in for my background. Okay, so if I wanted to change the background on here, import theme, I'm just going to do Slides Go. It's first one on here. And then that'll change all of my backgrounds. Okay. Let's see what it looks like. There are other websites as well. Slides Carnival and Slides Go are not the only two in town. You'll notice that when it imports, it doesn't always format great. So you might want to pick one out before you start making your document, just to make sure the formatting's right. This one doesn't look very pretty to me, but if I go into apply layout, I can choose one of these other ones to choose. And if I end up not liking it, I can always undo either by going to the version history and going back, or I can just click backwards if it hasn't been that many and get back my old presentation. So like I was saying, Slides Carnival, Slides Go are not the only two. There's plenty of good free ones out there, but it's a way to make it visually more interesting for your students instead of having the same few layouts over and over again. On that same note, you can edit the master of the document. So let's say I wanted to have a little bit of text on the bottom of all of my slides. I can add that in. Same goes for an image if I wanted to put an image in there. And that's what I did on one of the Scratch presentations. I always have the Scratch cat on top. I edited the master slide. So right now I'm on this one. This is not actually where I want this if I want this on every slide. I want it on the master slide. So now that I have it here, you'll notice it's auto-populated through all of them. Okay, so if you want something on every single page, you put it on this very first one that says master. This is also where you can change fonts if you don't like the fonts that they're using. And change slides. I haven't figured out a good way to change the link color, but oh well, I'll survive and I can edit my links one at a time. Okay, so now I've got that little imprint on every page. It is in the background though, so if you put in text or things, it can get covered up. But that's a good way to put something on every slide if that's something you're wanting to do, or just adjust things. You can also use it to adjust the colors of things. So let me get back there and show you what I mean. I just turned this whole slideshow green the other day. So I would click on, let me go to this one. I'd click on this box behind here, and instead of it being hot pink, I could have it be purple or something like that. So now whenever I go to that slide is a different color, and I can change them as I see fit. I can make new slides that have different layouts, and so it's a way that you can make it a little bit more dynamic, just so you're aware of that. Okay. Another thing that you can do is to go to the insert menu, and down here in chart they have from sheets. You can insert data in the form of a graph or something from a Google Sheets document. Sheets is the equivalent of Excel. It's a spreadsheet. I haven't gone into depth on it, but you can set up a form, Google form, which we'll talk about later in the week, to get information from your students, like let's say a pre-quiz before you get started, just to kind of assess everyone's background knowledge. And then you could display those results in a Google slide to let your class know what the general consensus is on various statements that were on the pre-quiz. So it's a cool way to get information from your students and show them that information if you choose to go that route to let them know about things. Okay, I'm almost done. The last thing I want to talk about is the presentation mode. Excuse me, there's a couple accessibility features in there and just cool things that I want to show you. So let me go back to this one actually. That actually has some stuff in it. Okay, I'm going to click, instead of just present, I'm going to click presenter view. Okay, one thing that I want to show you is this presenter view here. If you switch over to audience tools, you can click start new. And now if you're presenting this, like let's say during a whatever technology you're using to meet during a class synchronously, you can have this appear at the top of your slide. And it will allow students to type in that link, and they can put in a question, and you will see their questions pop up here, which is kind of cool. From here, you can navigate through your slideshow, either clicking through or by clicking on here and going to particular slides. Okay, and then I don't know what happens if I close this. Okay, I can get it back by going to Q&A, or I think by going to notes. Yep, so that's two ways to get that back. Pointer is fun. It turns your cursor into a little like laser pointer type thing, but that's not the last thing I wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you is the captions. So if I turn on captions, it will immediately start transcribing what I'm saying into text along the bottom of the screen. And you'll notice when you select caption, there's some options. You can adjust the size, and you can adjust the position on the screen, and it will auto caption for you. You'll notice it's not phrasing for me. It's not putting in periods or things. It is not perfect. It's clearly not capturing everything exactly correctly, but this is a way to have live captioning. If you're recording this for presentation to a class, a lot of those recording services will add captions in for you, but this is a way that you could caption a synchronous class if that's something that your students would benefit from. In my experience, a lot of students really enjoy having captions underneath. It gives them another second to process some information if they didn't hear something quite right. It helps with connectivity issues. If their internet had a blip, they can sometimes get back in, read through what you were saying, and get caught up. It can also sometimes help with vocabulary. Maybe you're talking about something they haven't heard before, and being able to see it written out right then is something that's helpful for them. So those are some really cool things that you can do with Slides and Docs and Google Chrome, kind of by extension. So I hope that you learned something valuable today that you'll be able to take and use with your students. And good luck creating your lessons today if you're participating with us in the course.